I'm going to show you how to tape a joint for a corner. I'm working on a window right now, so that's why I'm sitting in it. And I'm using paper tape. So watch and learn. So this is my joint, and I'm basically just going to measure and cut the tape. And drop all my tools. This gets folded, like a little corner. Can you see it? Corner. And I'm just gonna kind of get started with this little guy. This schmutz right there. Like that. It's kind of everywhere. This guy goes up there. Goes this. Try not to stick it too far. I'm gonna just grab this little guy, little knife. Regardless of the size of the knife that you're using, I think it's really important to know when you're smoothing out anything, you know, like smoothing out any sort of joint compound, whether there's a corner beneath it or whether it's just, you know, like two joints of drywall meeting. You're not really putting pressure exactly in the middle of the knife, you know, like you're not just kind of pulling the knife across. What you're actually doing is you're trying to control the joint compound underneath by pushing the knife, see if you can see this, slightly to one side or the other side, depending on what you're really trying to do. So if you've read some resources on how to do this, or if you've watched a video and they start saying things like the feathered edge, you know, you're feathering your edge like on the third coat and the fourth coat, and hopefully there's not 4 coats. But basically when you push it to this side, this is the side that you're feathering, like right over here. So there's lots of joint and compound on this side, and then it's feathering out smooth from there. And then if you push it to this side, this is the side that you're feathering, and then there's lots over here. So let's say your joint is right here, and that's where you want your most amount of compound. You're kind of pushing this way when you pull on it. And so when you watch the video of what I'm doing with these little corners, basically working on a window right now, and there's 4 corners, it looks like I'm really just smoothing it. But in fact, I'm not. I'm kind of holding the knife a little bit at an angle, you know, because I don't want to just squish all the joint compound from beneath the tape. Like what I'm trying to do is really position the tape in there and then feather the edge out so there's less sanding in the future. I really think that's one of the most important points to know when you're trying to learn how to do this. I find it to be the most frustrating part because what you're trying to do is really control the joint compound, which is kind of the consistency of like mashed potatoes. And so when you're doing it, you know, you're pushing around the mashed potatoes, but what you're really trying to do is place it and feather it. So later on, when you're sanding, you don't have to sand so much, you know, like the sanding is probably the most messy part. And it's also the part that I think most people have the harder time with. So if you can kind of master it while the joint compound is still wet, you'll save yourself a lot of time in the future. So your job will just go quicker. Can you see this? Take a good look. Big gap. It's a corner with a big gap. Let's see. Move my little knife. This is the big gap, and it's probably about 1/4 of an inch over here and about 1/8 of an inch over here, and then it all kind of connects. So I'm gonna kind of scrape out any previous dry compound. Let's see. so same idea. Basically push on a really generous coat of joint compound. Really make sure, you know, get it all the way into these little corners so it doesn't pucker up later on. Kind of the same thing. Make sure you get all the way over there. And be very generous because you're scraping it out anyway. Especially on these little edges. I feel like my neighbor's watching me right now. I'm in the basement. This is a basement renovation. And I'm pretty sure he either thinks I'm talking to myself or he's just watching me drywall, which is, I don't know which is worse, really. Okay, so here's the little guy. If you get it from Home Depot, sometimes they're crushed kind of like this when you get them. So it's really important to kind of go through and flare it out just a little bit because you want these little paper edges to automatically want to stick and press into the joint compound and not to want to flare out towards you. It'll just make your life easier in the future. So basically, press it in there, push down, and then you're really gonna just push some of that schmutz out. Yes, hello neighbor, I see you. Keep walking, buddy. All right, and then this. And see, he flared out right there. I don't know if you could see that. But basically, I'm gonna take some joint compound, I'm gonna like push it down in there so I can try it again. So I really wanna get a good edge. This one might be a pain in the butt. Okay, so that looks better. Basically, I'm just gonna take a healthy amount of compound and just get that first coat going. This would be what is considered a low budget production. Me and my iPhone. I'm gonna knock the phone over again. Let's see. So go like this. This. Yeah, this one's gonna be a bit of a pain in the butt. There we go. Much better. All right, so let's see if you can get a little closer. Basically, that's the first coat. Let's see. Can you see what I see? So right there. We'll let that dry, and then tomorrow do the second coat and just kind of keep fanning it out. One more corner. Here we go. Compound goes down. Compound on both sides. Like I said before, make sure there's no air bubbles. Corner. Let's do this side first. Kind of back push it. There. I have a hard time getting my wrist just right.